Gamerheads podcast is part of the Little Fellow Media Podcast Network, sponsored by podcast host Budsprout, the easiest podcasting software for hosting, promoting, and tracking your podcast. And welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me are my co-host Blue,
aka Writer's View,
and my co-host Mike,
a.k.a. Pezman Mike.
And my co-host Christian,
a.k.a. Fulgan.
Welcome, and welcome listeners from Spring Hill, Tennessee. The first settlers of Spring Hill arrived in 1808, and the city was established in 1809, and Albert Russell was the first person to build a home on the land that became Spring Hill. I don't think he was listening to our podcast, but...
If he is, then that'd be pretty creepy.
That would be awesome.
If he is, then we need to find out what's his secret.
Yeah. As long as he's not a zombie, I think we're okay.
Well, still, if he is a zombie, maybe we should make friends with him.
Yeah, that's true, too.
So that we can be on their side.
And he could build us a home, too.
Yeah,
that's
in
right.
Spring Hill. Why not?
In Spring Hill, yeah. So welcome, listeners from Spring Hill, Tennessee, and welcome, listeners from all over the world. And welcome members of the Gamerhead Nation. And the members of the Gamerhead Nation are Miguel, a.k.a. at Sergeant Fit Geek, Torto, a.k.a. JTorto40, and Tim at Great Siaman81. And they support Gamerheads through our Patreon page. And on only for $5 a month, you too can become part of the Gamerheads Nation. The link to the Patreon page is in the show notes. So please consider supporting our podcast, and thank you to all those that have already supported us. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we have quite a bit to cover today. We have some news. We have your listener feedback, games that we're currently playing. But before we get into all that, I do have an icebreaker. And our icebreaker this week is, what is one game that defines your childhood? Yeah, so it could be anything like, this is the game that I played the most as a kid, or it could be, this is the game that kind of made me who I am today as a gamer. Any of those things would work, I guess, for an answer. So, Christian, I'm going to start with you. What is one game that defines your childhood?
Well, it's so hard to pick just one because there's so many. I've played so many games as a child. But I think I'll pick one I haven't talked about yet on the show, and that's Guitar Hero 2. Because got a PS2 at one point for like Christmas when I was like 11 or something like that. And then I remember, I think it was my 12th birthday, I got Guitar Hero 2 on PS2 with the guitar. And that was crazy. That was before I had a PS2 memory card. And it just blew my mind that I had this guitar peripheral and just licensed to play it as much as I wanted. And so I went off to the races and just played it over and over and over and over. That set list, those songs still are burned into my brain to this day. So whenever I hear one come on the radio, anyone I'm around will get annoyed because I'll say, ooh, this song's on Guitar Hero 2. And then I'll know all the guitar lines because the sound mixing emphasizes the guitars. And then also Guitar Hero 2 is kind of what got me dabbling into harder difficulties and challenging myself. Because up to that point, I thought video games were just something you were supposed to have a nice, easy breezy time with. I didn't see any point for there to be any difficulties other than easy. But as I kind of became acclimated to Guitar Hero and the 3 first buttons that you get on easy, and then I bumped it up to medium as I got better, and then hard as I got better, and then eventually expert, and it felt fantastic to be able to pull off all of these hammer-ons and pull-offs in very quick succession in a way that made the person who was watching use mouth drop, and I like that a lot.
Wow.
That's a good point, yep.
If Guitar Hero 2 is the game that sent Christian down on his crazy difficulty path,
Yep.
that was like a crossroads in his young life. Imagine him if he'd not done that.
I know. There's a universe, if you believe in multi-universes. There's a universe where Christian is not good at games.
And the rest of us are.
I know, I was going to say, and there's a universe where I am, so...
That's funny that you say that, Christian. I remember, still for the life of me, I cannot get past Rock This Town on Expert.
Really?
Yeah.
I see. I can't blame you, Mike. Some of those Expert songs had me tripped up for days at a time. But I was just so bored and didn't have anything else to do, and I didn't have a memory card, so if I turned it off, I lost all my progress. So I just did it anyway.
You know, Guitar Hero and like Rock Band, those are the types of games that when you play them and you have people watching, like those are like really good games that people can, you know, spectate and watch, right? Because
yeah,
totally.
Like you do feel kind of like a rock star when you pull off some of those really difficult tricks, I guess.
Yeah. And at the very least, the person watching you can just listen to the music.
Yeah, exactly. So good. That's a good pick, Christian. That defined not only your childhood, but that defined who you are today as a person.
Exactly.
Although that was probably like 3 weeks ago, so.
Oh. Yes, I was 12 years old 3 weeks ago.
In Roger years, you were. What about you, Blue? What is one game that defines your childhood?
Yeah, like Christian said, there are a bunch of choices that you could nominate. It could be Super Mario 3, or it could be Super Mario Kart, or it could be Donkey Kong Country. But what I'm going to put forward as my choice is actually Dr. Mario.
Oh.
Because my sisters and I had this fierce rivalry going on Dr. Mario, on the 2-player Dr. Mario for really as long as I can remember. And so there'd be the 3 of us playing, and whoever lost had to step out, and then the other one would switch in. But it got to the point where all of us could crank the difficulty up as high as it would go and the speed up as high as it would go, and just sit there and just compete with each other for hours.
Oh,
and we did this through our entire childhood, from like little tiny to, I have pictures of us all in college still playing this against each other.
Gosh.
And I am not even, of the 3 of us, I'm not even the best one.
Wow.
So...
Are your sisters older or younger, or are you a middle child?
They're both younger than me.
They're both younger than you, okay.
Yeah. So pride, at least before, used to dictate that I should be the best, but that's not how it worked out.
Do they still play games? Like, could you pop this game in and say, all right, let's do this? And would you beat them now, do you think?
Oh, they could play Dr. Mario today still.
Oh, okay.
But if I put on any other game, they wouldn't be interested.
Oh, okay.
But Dr. Mario is special.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. I would get so mad if my younger siblings beat me at games, for sure. I do have a really bad story, and I may have told this on the podcast, but where my brother, he's 7 years younger than me, and he was 10 and I was 17, and him and his friend were beating me at Street Fighter 2, and I lightly pulled out their controller plugs, but made it look like they were still plugged in. And then I beat up on them really bad. Yeah, I was really... There's a learning moment for him.
Veteran move right there.
Yeah.
I was teaching him a lesson in life. That's a good pick. What about you, Mike?
So yeah, like Blue said, there's so many that you could say that defined your childhood. Like for me, even... Mario World, the original Mario, Zelda, I have some amazing memories with that. But if I'm going all the way back to thinking and to what really got me into gaming, I'm going to have to go all the way back, and I'm going to say Keystone Capers on the Atari 2600, which I played. I didn't have it. My neighbor had it. And I played, so I don't know if anybody's ever played it before, but basically you're a police officer in a mall, and you're chasing after a robber, and you have to reach the robber before time runs out or before he makes it to the top floor of the mall. And it's just like a regular Atari game. That's all it is, and it just gets progressively harder. Yeah. It was an Activision game, so it was good quality. They did a lot of great... Activision had so many great Atari games. Keystone Capers, obviously Pitfall, Stampede... what Barnstorming, River Raid, so many good ones.
Yeah.
But this one I just was always just the first memory I have at playing video games was being that cop chasing after that robber, ducking under remote control planes, jumping over shopping carts, going up the escalator. So I didn't know the name of the game until I was older. So I was just a little kid, and I thought that the game was called Elevators and Escalators because those are the two ways you can get to the different floors.
That's
like
not a
shoots and
bad
ladders.
name.
It's not, yeah.
So that's when I was just a little kid. I'm like, I want to play Elevators and Escalators. What?
You mean Shoots and Ladders, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
They pull out shoots and ladders like, no.
Get that out of here, and I flip it over.
Yeah,
But it was,
exactly.
but yeah. So that's the one I loved as a kid, and I still love playing it. I actually bought. They had the Activision Anthology on the Game Boy Advance, and I played that, and I played Keystone Capers for just days and days on end, just trying to beat my own high score.
That's awesome.
And when the Xbox 360 launched, the Xbox 360, it was some kind of arcade. You can buy actual like arcade games or Atari and Intellivision games. That was one of the first games I bought. Was Keystone Capers.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow,
So, yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And you never became like a mall cop after that then or anything?
No, man, I was so bad at the game that it just ruined all my hopes and dreams of eventually becoming a mall cop.
Yeah.
That's probably the exam they give you for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. What do you think of Keystone Capers?
yeah,
Here you go. We got to play this.
yeah. Can you jump over a shopping cart?
Yeah.
Nope. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, better luck next time.
Oh, that's a good pick. For myself, I would have to say, like all of you, I have a lot of games that I played as a kid, and I could have picked any of these. But one game in particular, I would have to say kind of defined my childhood, was Jungle Hunt. Have anyone played Jungle Hunt on the Atari 2600?
Going vine to vine?
Yep. So it was like the poor man's Pitfall.
Yeah. It was Pitfall without the running.
Yes, exactly. And so like all games back then, like they didn't really tell you the reason why any of this happened, right? Like it just
It's not
played
important.
This game. It's not
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
No.
Headhunters apparently captured your girlfriend and put her in a pot, and you have to go save her. I mean, that
makes
the story.
sense.
Yeah.
In a
Perfectly.
pot,
Yeah.
of course.
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess a cauldron or something.
Oh, in that case.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like a big, like the cartoon pot, like in Bugs Bunny, how Bugs Bunny was always in like the big pot that he's cutting up they're cutting up carrots and they're going to make him into a stew.
Yeah.
They're going to do that with your girlfriend. So, yeah, you had to go save her. So, the reason that this game, I think, defined my childhood is because it didn't have a story, but then we would go into the real world and make a story of, like, what happened and how this happened. And then we would have, like, real challenges in real life.
Created your own fan fiction for Jungle Hunt?
Pretty much.
Awesome.
And, so we would, and so then we would pick people in our real life and say, oh, like that person's that person in the game.
How many characters are in the game?
Well, so there's one part where these boulders are coming at you. and so there's this guy, our neighbor, he was much older than us. So I was like in third grade, probably. No, I was younger than that. No, I was probably like third grade. And our neighbor who like took our plastic bat, like the plastic bats that you had as a kid, those big plastic bats, so you had the wiffle ball and you hit them.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He would take rocks. He would take our bat, and he was in high school, and he hit it with rocks, and it like hit towards us, which didn't make any sense. So we always pretend that's what those boulders that were coming at us. And his name was Lee, so we called him Lee the Bat Denter because he dented her bat because of that. And then that applied to the video game, so that's why the boulders are coming. It had nothing to do with the girlfriend that was captured. It had to do with real people that were in our life. And it was so weird. I don't know.
It sure was.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like and I've said this before on another podcast, but we would, games where it's so intricate or so detailed like they are now, right? So you would go out and play in the real world, but we would take the things that happen in video games and apply them to the real world. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that game defined my childhood. So listeners, what's one game that defined your childhood? You can let us know. You can send us a tweet at GamerheadsPC. You can send us an email at info@GamerheadsPodcast. You can also go to our website at GamerheadsPodcast.com or go to Facebook.com/GamerheadsPodcast and leave us a message there as well. All right, so let's move on to the news. And Christian, we'll start with you. What do you have news-wise?
Sure. So Tuesday was a very busy day in the video game world. This past Tuesday was. One of the reasons being that the PlayStation State of Play happened. And it was just a little short little 30-minute video. We mentioned it on last podcast, I think, that they were potentially teasing Last of Us 2 stuff. And we did get some Last of Us 2 trailer footage. We got a release date coming this February. We also got, Humanity, Mitsugushi's next game, the dude who made Tetris Effect and Rez, and one of the creative geniuses behind Luminous. Medieval demo, that's coming at ya. Watum is coming by the same guy who made Katamari Damacy. And Civilization 6 is coming to PS4, which I think was kind of a given considering that game's been out on Switch for like a year now. But the thing that stood out to me that I found interesting was that there was a Call of Duty Modern Warfare trailer for this as well. It was a story trailer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. You know, that's fine. That's all well and good. This is a multi-platform game. But the past couple of entries have had like map packs or extra content come to PS4 like a week or a month beforehand before it comes out to the rest of the stuff. That's fine. But the interesting part is that they announced that a game mode is coming exclusively to PS4 first, and it is a co-op survival mode.
Ooh.
So that's interesting because usually Call of Duty games recently in the modern era have three main components. There's usually the single player campaign. There is the competitive multiplayer, which is what most people play. And then there is the cooperative component. And so the cooperative component is kind of switched up over the years. It was zombies for the Treyarch stuff until like every company basically adopted zombies. Or else it was like wave-based stuff. Modern Warfare 3 had a wave-based thing. Ghosts had a wave-based survival thing. So did Advanced Warfare. And so what this appears to be is a Call of Duty Modern Warfare cooperative survival mode is coming exclusive to PS4 for the first year. It will only be on PS4, which is crazy. So I didn't know that during the presentation. I didn't realize that this exclusivity is happening for an entire year. And all they've said is that it's the cooperative survival component. So that could be a third of the game that they're potentially locking off for an entire year until the game is basically obsolete because they come out with a new Call of Duty game every year.
Yeah.
So,
that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like, that's pretty bold of them to think people will still care in a year.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so needless to say, people are upset and they're canceling pre-orders left and right.
Oh, man.
Oh, snap. So, yeah, my husband, I think we've pre-ordered every Call of Duty since, I don't know, probably since the second one. Like, I can't even remember a time when we haven't pre-ordered Call of Duty and we got to get the map packs and we got to get everything.
Jeez.
And he always plays it so much that we get our money's worth out of it. So it's, I don't ever argue. I was like, yep, I know you'll get your money's worth out of it. This, $100 purchase. So, but this time I was like, so are you going to pre-order that? And he's like, nah, I don't think I will. Cause he is busy with Destiny 2 and that relaunch is coming soon. And then he also got Borderlands 3 and he's like, no, I'm not going to have time for it. So I'm not going to get it.
Wow.
And then the new trailer came out yesterday.
Oh.
He watched that and he's like, I'm so sold. I'm getting it right now.
Fascinating.
So
how does
They
he?
lost some subscribers, but I know they got a new one.
Yeah.
What was it that you think sold him on it?
The gameplay.
The gameplay? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he plays shooters, and that's basically all he plays. And so for years, I could never get him to play anything else besides Call of Duty until Destiny came along, because he never liked the way the gun mechanics worked.
I see.
So yeah, so when he said he wasn't going to get it, I was like, what? Are you serious? But yeah, the trailer won him over. So
I'm just curious, how does he like Borderlands 3?
he likes it a lot. I think it's it's a little different than what he's used to, but I think that's good for him.
Cool. Well, there you go, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You won over somebody that hasn't played the game before, and you actually provided a good recommendation.
Yeah, when you said
The first time ever.
when you said the shooting was more like Call of Duty, he's like, I'm gonna play that.
Nice. Oh, yeah, I didn't catch actually the state of play, so I didn't get to see any of that. So
It was short. It was 30 minutes. It was, Nintendo Direct ripoff, like most things are these days. But because of that, it wasn't as good because, Nintendo, they got their thing down. They got the tone down, that happy, cheery, move on to the next thing, a good pacing. This one was just...
Tone.
Yes, the tone.
The tone is so important, and if you don't believe me, watch Xbox Live.
Oh, yikes.
Oh, really?
Oh, you went there.
I did. I'm sorry. It has to be said. Somebody should tell them.
Oh, it was so uncomfortable.
What? So I didn't see that either. Like, what? So since we're kind of on that news, like, what was so terrible about that?
So they kind of go more like a silly route, and they've got all this scripted banter that's just kind of forced. It doesn't flow, but everything's like, 110% energy. Oh my God, can you believe this? And then it's even at the end, like they're making fun of themselves, like, check back at the next Xbox Live for more of this scripted banter you love so much. And I was just, it's so cringy. It's just take it down about, 30% at least, and then maybe we can talk.
I always feel like when people do that, they're overcompensating, right? I mean,
I don't know. I think they're going for a tone, a specific high energy, happy, excited, let's get pumped tone. But to me, it comes across as really disingenuous and forced.
yeah,
It's real fake.
exactly. That's my point. If you really truly were like energetic or like excited about something, you don't have to fake it. And then it shows me like maybe you don't believe in your own product, and I don't know if I should believe in your product then. That's just my thought.
Or maybe it's just like, let's just be regular people
Or
about it,
that too.
and we can still sell a product that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get passionate and not get fakey excited, right? So.
So like a lot of those really, 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 really awkward E3 presentations by the people who are up on the stage, and just you could tell they don't know anything about games or don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And you could tell the script said, read line excitedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it was when you had like not that they're not gamers or anything, but like when you had bands come out there, like I know Weezer came out one time and like presented some games, and you're like, what is Weezer doing here? They're not in the game. Their music's not in the game.
They were available.
They were available. Like, hey, we're here for a concert. Hey, do you want to do a additional show for like $2,000?
Somebody
sure.
somewhere called in a favor, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I can get Weezer to show up.
They owe me something.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Anything else, Christian?
No, that was it.
Okay. What about you, Blue? What do you have?
So, yes, speaking of Xbox Live that happened yesterday, the biggest announcement that they probably had was their Project xCloud, which is a game streaming service that's set to launch in October in limited fashion. So it will open to members of the public in the U.S., South Korea, and the U.K., and you can sign up to be selected for the trial that begins in October. It is, let's see, the project's corporate vice president, Kareem Chowdhury, explained in a news update that he had been using xCloud to play multiplayer Pirate Jaunt Sea of Thieves from home, with his kids joining in on console and PC, while office staff had been playing Halo 5 Guardians and Gears 5 on smartphone and tablet devices. And the technical preview is to take the form of a phased test, with participant numbers limited at first but gradually expanding. And it's only for Android devices.
What? Mm-hmm. So, okay. People really want to play these games on their Android devices? This is weird to me.
I think it's I don't know if, I'm sure they were planning something like this before, but it seems to me to be a Google Stadia response.
But on Android devices?
It's just for the technical test.
Oh.
The phase test.
So is this like
I'm sure.
Is this
Yeah.
Are they moving everything to like this xCloud from a gaming perspective then, or is this something you have to sign? I mean, do you have to pay for this service?
Details will come later.
Okay.
I'm sure.
All right. Well, I'm just wondering, like, or is this in prep for their new system? I guess those are the things I'm wondering. Like, how's that going to affect me as a gamer? Does it mean like all the games that I play on Game Pass now will go through the xCloud? I don't know.
I don't know. In the presentation, like, one thing they emphasized is that it's your own account, and you can just access it from a new place. You know, it's your own saves, it's your own friend list, your own games. So, But
it's not streaming from your console either. I don't think it's streaming from the Xbox Cloud, but they're going to have another like technology service thing where you're going to be able to supposedly stream games from your local console to your device. But that's not what xCloud is. You're streaming it from a server farm Xbox to your device.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That sounds not interesting to me. I just, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to play games on a device outside of my console. I don't know. I just don't get this appeal. I don't know.
This whole concept.
Yeah.
Let's just hope it doesn't do well. No, I'm not joking. I hope, because if let's say this thing is ridiculously successful, so now Xbox they're going to say, oh, okay, well, our next console, because of the positive reception, is going to be all digital.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They tried that with the Xbox One, didn't they? Oh, they did, with the Xbox all digital system.
Oh yeah, the Xbox SAD.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Does anybody have sales numbers on that?
I forgot it even existed. I don't know if anybody even bought
Actually,
that.
I kind of did too. I haven't heard a thing about it since they announced it.
There's an all-digital PSP back in the day, the PSP Go.
That's true.
Another thing we forgot existed.
Yep. Yeah, I guess we'll find out more about this, but it just seems so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess. I mean, I guess if you had a tablet and you felt like dragging a controller around with you, maybe if I traveled for work and so I was constantly on the go and I didn't always want to play my Switch, maybe.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I definitely don't see the appeal of playing, Gears 5 on my phone. That seems not fun.
Yeah, the game selection, at least with this test, being Sea of Thieves, Gears 5, and Halo 5, seems kind of paltry, and it doesn't really appeal to the general public, I wouldn't think. Because, your dad isn't going to be like, ooh, I can finally play Halo 5 on my iPad. Or your little sister isn't going to go, oh, I can finally play Gears 5 on my phone.
Yeah. But then again, your general public is not going to be the ones watching Xbox Live and likely signing up for the test.
Yeah, but it would benefit the people who don't have an Xbox the most, but I feel like the people who already have an Xbox are the ones who are going to want to use it.
Well, that's the weird part.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's another avenue for they're saying, oh, this is an avenue or revenue that we don't have a foothold in yet, right? So let's reach out to this public that may have tablets or phones or whatever, or Surfaces that, hey, now they can play, Gears 5 or, Sea of Thieves or any of these games. But you're right. I mean, those people are not going to be out there trying to find, and if they do, there's a very small percentage of those people, I would think. Majority of them, if they're going to be playing PC games, are going to be playing PC games on their PC machine that they built that's designed to play PC games, not stream games. It seems weird.
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of like Stadia in the fact that we don't really know who the audience is yet.
Yeah.
But Stadia launches soon, right?
Yeah, pre-order now.
So I guess we'll know more later.
I guess so, yeah. And is anybody going to get Stadia, or did you purchase Stadia? Did you purchase Stadia?
No, but then again, I mean, not yet, but if you can, I forget what they said it was. Was it like $5 a month or something? It was not much. And you can stream it from an existing console using your existing controllers.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to do is have access to like a Google Chrome.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I might try it, considering it's only a $5 experiment.
Yeah. We'll see. Depending on what kind of games. I mean, we know there's quite a few, but...
It's weird seeing the Borderlands 3 commercials and seeing the Stadia logo on the platforms at the end of them, because it's not even out yet. It's weird. I feel like that's probably what we're going to see for the next year is Stadia logos on platform names at the end of video game ads, but it's weird.
What was that? What was that one that started? Ouya, right? Ouya? Wasn't that a streaming system too?
No, it was just an all-digital platform that
digital platform. Okay. Yeah, okay. So, did we say Ouya on the tags of game trailers as well at one point? I'm just wondering. I don't
think so, no. It was largely an Android thing, so the performance wasn't there to push like big AAA stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll find out in a couple weeks, I guess.
Yep.
Anything else, Blue?
No.
What about you, Mike? Do you have anything?
Yeah, well, keeping on the topic of amazing decisions by corporate...
Yes.
PlayStation has just launched its own online store in the U.S., which allows consumers to go straight to the source for all their gaming needs. So they're going to have physical copies of games as well as hardware, bundles, accessories, as well as subscriptions. According to the PlayStation blog post, they said, this site not only provides our fans in the US with the option to purchase these items directly from PlayStation, but is also intended to help gift givers easily find the right product for their friends or family. Fans will find that prices on the new store align with those found at other retailers. So
challenge accepted on that.
Yeah, challenge accepted. Yeah. To find in line. I don't know. My Best Buy Gamer Rewards is still in play.
Gamers Club Unlocked.
Gamers Club Unlocked. Thank you. That I still have that, and that for me, I've got that going until I think January.
Ooh.
So if PlayStation if their online store offers games at 20% off retail price, I'm on board. But when they say price competitively, they just mean full MSRP.
Yeah, that's exactly what they mean.
Yeah.
But I could totally see why they would want to do this, because why should, GameStop and Amazon and Best Buy and all of these outlets get the money for sales and pre-orders and blah, blah, blah? And why shouldn't PlayStation just keep it in-house?
Yeah.
But they have an online. But they have the PlayStation Online. I mean, I can buy.
Well, yeah, but as we all know and have talked about many times, there's still the market for the physical copies, and that's where PlayStation loses out.
Yeah.
I just think when you take into consideration all the other options, the going to PlayStation.com to order your PS4 bundle or whatever is going to be one of the lower on the totem pole because you've got your brick and mortar stores, and then you've got Amazon, which is like 1 day delivery.
Yep.
So they're going to have to do
exactly.
something
free 1 day, 2 day delivery.
Right, exactly. And so the only way I can see them competing is if they have online store exclusives.
Yeah.
Like certain skins, like console skins or controllers or, something like that.
Yeah.
That's
The new Death Stranding PS4 Pro
Yeah.
the yellow,
special edition.
the clear yellow controller.
The P yellow controller.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, Mike. You might be onto something there, where there's going to be PlayStation Store physical copy thing exclusives.
Pre-order bonuses or something.
Yeah.
That's how they can stay competitive. If they're just trying to go toe to toe with the brick and mortar and Amazon, good luck.
Yeah. Or they can stay competitive by, like, if they do something like they do on, like, their online store where, hey, we're going to have a flash sale. And, all these games by this publisher are going to be 25% off, blah, 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 right? So that's a possibility, too.
Or even pre-order with us and you'll get this exclusive physical bonus. I'm sick of a skin.
Well, hey! When I pre-ordered Kingdom Hearts 3, the sword or the Keyblade that was the pre-order bonus, I used that through the whole game. That was my favorite one.
All right, well, that's a valid point. I picked up Lollipop Chainsaw, and I was upset that I never pre-ordered it, because if you pre-ordered it, you'd get the Ash Williams costume.
Oh, really?
That's never been made available anywhere else, only for pre-orders.
Yikes.
Oh, that's funny.
So I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, they have to be worth it, though.
Yeah.
Costume, probably not so much, but something you can actually use and that makes a difference in your gameplay, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I guess we'll see about that, too. Anything else, Mike?
That is all.
The only thing that I was going to bring up, and I can talk more about this when we get to the games we're currently playing, but I did download the Google Play Pass, or I guess not download.
Yes.
Subscribed to the Google Play Pass. And so right now we get a 10-day trial when you first sign up. And it's weird because when I signed up, I asked Christian, did you sign up? And it was yesterday, I think, Christian, right? Wasn't it?
Yes, either yesterday or Tuesday. Whatever day was like the first day.
Yeah. And you said that there was a delay, or not delay, but there was a release schedule on this or something?
Yeah, I had problems getting the Google Play Pass because I wanted in. I wanted all these dirty, nasty, ad-free apps on my phone. So I was like, when is this happening? And I realized it happened like the day that they announced it. And so I go on my Google Play Store app and I don't see anything about Google Play Pass. So I look it up, I Google it, and it says it should be in your little hamburger menu. So I go to my hamburger menu, it's not there. So I Google, why is my Google Play Pass not in the menu? And I get someone who asked that. There's like one person who asked this out on the internet. And then some Google Play support lady was like, we are staggering the release. It should be available to everyone in the US by the next day. So I waited 24 hours. It still wasn't available. And then I started getting desperate. So that's when I started like scrolling down the list, because this support question was like a forum post of like a bunch of people being like, what the heck, Google? I hate Google. Why is Google doing this? Why don't they support their devices? What's happening? And so eventually one person said they were able to get around it. Well, there were a bunch of workarounds. One person said, click on an app that's on the Google Play Pass, and that will show you a Google Play Pass option. You can get to it there. That didn't work for me. One person said, switch accounts, create a new Google account, and then you can get the Google Play Pass. So I created a new account, and boom, there it was. But I didn't want to juggle two Google Play Pass accounts. So I went back to my other account, and I found one person who said, go to an app that you have already purchased, go back out to the main menu, and then you should see it. And that's what happened with them. So I went to an app I purchased, I went back out to the main Google Play menu, boom, I had the Google Play Pass option, and that's what allowed me to subscribe.
How annoying.
It was bad.
Well,
That was like an epic journey.
Yes.
it was. Because we know what my journey was? I went to Google Play, I hit the hamburger menu, and there it was. And I signed up.
Yeah.
I can't play Wizards Unite, but I can certainly sign up for the Google Play Pass. So we can talk more about that with the games that we're currently playing. But I did sign up for that. So it's a 10-day trial, and then after that, it's $1.99 a month for 12 months, and then after that, then it's $4.99 a month every month after that. So, we'll see. I don't know. I downloaded one game so far. Yay.
I downloaded
You got
10.
your money's worth.
You downloaded 10 games?
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it have Cake Mania?
I did not see Cake. Did you see Cake Mania, Christian?
No, I don't think that's on there.
Yeah.
Oh,
No buy.
that's a deal breaker.
That is a deal breaker. I need my Cake Mania.
Yeah, I
Or what
downloaded
about Diner Dash?
I didn't see
That's
Diner
that's
Dash.
true.
I didn't see Diner Dash.
Oh, well, then forget it.
Yeah, I saw Limbo. I saw Stardew Valley.
Yes.
I saw Rain. Wasn't it called Rain? Rain. There was 2 Rain games on there, right?
Oh, yes. Reigns, I believe it's called.
Rains. I downloaded Card Thief, which is like a solitaire game. That seems no. Okay. So here's we talked about this when Jordan was on the show, and he talked about Apple Arcade Pass or whatever it's called, right? Apple Arcade. And Christian and Jordan were on board with this whole thing. This is great. This is awesome. And then myself, and I think Blue and Blue, you're kind of the same boat. And I guess Mike, you weren't there. I guess I was wondering what your thoughts are, but I don't know. Mobile gaming is just not something that I do. What about you, Mike? Is that something that interests you?
Cake Mania.
Okay.
I like
Cake
Cake Mania.
I'm with my Cake Mania.
I searched Cake Mania, and the Google Play Pass game I got was Pastry Paradise, which is a match 3 game.
Oh, that's the Go box.
God.
That's the
Match
Dr.
3.
Thunder of.
Dr. Thunder.
That's the Dr. Thunder of Cake Mania.
Match 3 is not even close.
That's like Cake Mania meets Candy Crush or something like that, right? But I mean, playing Stardew Valley on my phone, or playing Limbo on my phone, or playing any like game that requires like more than just a simple sliding thing, that would just annoy the hell out of me. I can't do it. So anyway,
let me know when Cake Mania comes out on there.
Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. That's all I had for news then. So let's move on to our listener feedback. And listeners, you can give us feedback. Christian, how can they send us a tweet?
At Gamerheads PC on Twitter.
And how can they send us an email?
info@gamerheadspodcast.com.
And how can they send us on our website? I'm sorry.
Gamerheadspodcast.com.
And what about our Facebook page?
Facebook.com/gamerheadspodcast.
Okay, so last week we asked the question, what's your favorite use of a licensed song in a video game? And Mike, do you want to take the first one there?
Sure, this comes from @TheRetroBite. They said, okay, this may not be what you're expecting, but I love the use of Chicago, If You Leave Me Now, in GTA 5, Trevor and Patricia scene, Totes Emosh.
I love what Grand Theft Auto 5 did with the music stuff. I really like that a lot. I think that's the first Grand Theft Auto to do it. I'm probably wrong. Other Grand Theft Autos have probably done it, but basically where there's a moment in the game in like a story mission or something, and as soon as you get into a vehicle, a certain song will begin playing, regardless of what's on the radio at the time. Yeah. Very clever, very great, sets up some very poignant moments, like the one the Terabyte sent us.
Did you guys? So that was like one of the things I really liked about
the Retrobite. I'm sorry, Roger.
Oh, the Retrobite. Oh, that's okay. You know what I liked? When you jumped into different cars in the early, maybe it's even the newer ones too. I haven't played too much of the Grand Theft Autos, like the newer ones, but when you jumped into a certain car, based on that car, the radio station that it was set to was was, you know, so like it might be a classic station if it was like a cool oldies car, right? Or it might be like talk radio if it was more like a hipster car, right? Wasn't that cool? That was cool.
Yes. I freaking love Grand Theft Auto Talk Radio. That like, when
Yeah.
I was little, I would just put on Chatterbox, sit in the car, listen to that for hours on end. That's all I needed.
Yeah. Christian, want to take the next one?
Yeah, this one's from SC Scanslin? Close. I'm sorry for butchering your name.
SC Scanlan. I think there's supposed to be an A.
Scanlan, perfect.
Yeah.
He said, the Joker singing Only You and You Alone by the Platters at the end of Arkham City.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I remember that.
Yeah. That was cool. That in character too. That was so cool.
Way better than the ending to Arkham Asylum, I can tell you that much. They botched that ending.
Blue, do you want to take the next one?
Sure, this is from L Frank Gaming, and they tweeted the zany Skrillex / Damian Marley collab that plays during the weed burning scene in Far Cry 3 always struck me as just about a perfect choice.
Yeah.
I don't know that scene, but in my head, I'm getting a feel for it.
Oh, it's so bizarre. That was like the first time I ever experienced something like that in a game. I was like 15 or something, and I'm just playing Far Cry 3, and then I'm burning weed, and then this dubstep comes out of nowhere. It's so weird. Oh, it's so weird.
I have not played Far Cry 3.
It's my favorite Far Cry.
It's a great game.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I never really got into the Far Cry games until Primal, actually. So,
That's a pretty easy platinum, Roger.
is it? I guess maybe I have to finish it. It's okay. It's a good game. Yeah. Mike, do you want to take the next one?
Sure, this comes from @Anthrax442. I think I've got to go with Paranoid in Rock and Roll Racing.
Oh, wow.
Throwback.
Yeah, that is a throwback.
That is a throwback, for sure. And then, Christian, you want to take the last one there?
Sure. WSKOSC said, Omega Boost by Polyphony Digital on PS1 had Fly by Loudmouth in the intro, and it's glorious.
Some of these games I never played. I need to play more games, apparently.
I feel like we tell you that every week.
Yeah.
I know.
And then he'll get the game.
Yeah, then I'll get it and I won't play it. No, I never played Omega Boost. Interesting. Thanks everybody for giving the feedback for that. And then we have on iTunes, we have feedback on iTunes. Blue, do you want to read that?
Sure. It's titled Top Quality Video Game Podcast, 5 stars. This is by far my favorite video game podcast where one of the hosts is named after a primary color of light. The crew are very entertaining and complement each other well with their thoughtful discussions, frivolous banter, and in-depth reviews. I would recommend this podcast to anyone else who spends their mornings on a bicycle avoiding death as they make their way begrudgingly to a job they hate.
Yeah, so when you're on your bike and you're listening to our podcast, please do pay attention to what you're doing. Because the avoiding death part really made me a little nervous there.
Gamerheads podcast is not responsible for any accidents that may occur while riding one's bike.
Absolutely. Though, if one does have to listen to something on their last moments on Earth, we are honored.
That is a good point. Such a glass is half full kind of guy.
I try.
Instead of Rosebud, last dying words are Gamerheads. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
But thank you so much for the kind words, Archery Dan. That was very, very kind of you.
Yes,
So
thank you.
Indeed.
And listeners, if you want to give us feedback, you can certainly do so. We will read your feedback on air. You can go to iTunes, and there's a link in our show notes. You can go to iTunes site or account, I guess, and then you can leave us a review there. And that helps us grow the show, not only because we get your feedback and then we know what you're listening or looking for when you're listening to our show, but then that also helps us because that helps us move up in the charts on iTunes. and then lets other people know that, hey, we exist. We exist as a video game podcast. So leaving us a review helps us so we can read that review on air, and then we reflect on that. We talk about it. But if you just leave a star review too, or a 5-star review, or any star review, I guess. I'm not going to tell you what kind of star review you leave, but 5-star reviews are obviously the most appreciated. But just even leaving us a review like that actually helps us grow too. So thank you so much.
It helps us get past the iTunes gatekeepers.
Yeah. They have a pretty tight guard there, and they're gatekeeping. So. All right. So, well, thanks, everybody. Let's move on to the games that we're currently playing. And Blue, we'll start with you. What games are you currently playing?
So what did I play this week? Oh, yes. Okay, so last week we talked about the Mario Kart North American Open.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
Yeah. I did worse than you, I'm sure.
So the thing was, it started out about how you would expect it. Like, everybody on there was very, very competitive. And when you first pulled in or opened up the tournament, they showed the leaderboard. And like the person in first place had 322 points. So if you did the math, over 24 races, you had to average, I think it was 14.3 points in order to get that score. And a win gives you 15.
Yeesh.
So super competitive, right?
Yeah.
So for a while, like the first half, I was about where I expected to be. Like I'm placing 5th, 6th, 7th. I'm just in the middle. I'm very average. And then gradually I noticed my lobbies are getting smaller. They're no longer the full lobbies of 12 people. They're like 8 people or 6 people, or one time there was only 2 of us. And so I don't think much of it. My placement is going up to reflect the, fewer racers. So I'm doing better. I'm getting 2nd or 3rd, or, a couple times I'm winning. And then I happen to notice, eventually it kind of dawns on me that my points aren't really going anywhere. And then eventually I notice on one of the times when I win, I only get 10 points. And so then I finally realized what other people probably realized way before me, is that if the lobby's not full, Nintendo seemed to be giving you points from the bottom up as opposed to from the top down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when they thought that I only got 10 points for winning, they're assuming that I beat 10 people instead of I won the race.
Yeah.
So, but by then it was too late to do anything about it. And I finished up my 24 race session, and I went to start another one, and they said, "Oh, you're welcome to keep playing. Your score won't count."
Yeah.
I was like, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So what I mean, we would just, did they expect you just to quit out of the lobby and try to get back into a new one with more people in it? Because that happened to me too. Where, like, a lot of my lobbies had, like, the full 12 people, but then a lot of them had, like, 7 or people, and I'm like, well, this is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem fair for Nintendo to penalize us because they're not filling lobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure it was something that they tried to do to make sure people weren't waiting a long time for races.
Sure.
But I would rather wait than be penalized.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I guess the takeaway is that if they hold one of these events again, I will go into it much better prepared.
Yeah. Do I dare ask what your final score was?
It was 100.
Well, that's good. Blue, that's
no,
pretty
it's
good.
not. Well, it's not as good as it should have been.
Well, do you know what my final score was?
You don't have to say if you don't want
to. No,
I
don't care. It was 61.
Oh.
The highest I got was 4th place, and I was very proud of myself, but there was only like 6 or 7 people that were playing in that race, so it didn't seem to really count, so. Yeah. It was not. towards the end too, I don't know how you were, but I was just exhausted and I'm like, just get this stuff over with. This is 24 races. I just want to get done.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I played some Mario Kart. I finished up and I was like, okay, come on, let's do it again.
I had my kids on my lap while I was playing too because they wanted to watch. And then I was just like, they're like, are we almost done, Dad? Is this almost done? Is this almost done, Dad? I'm like, well, I'm at race 20. I have 4 more. Well, we're getting hungry. Can we go eat supper now?
Dad, I broke my leg. Not now.
Not now.
Not now.
3 more
Daddy
races,
is
kid.
racing.
Yeah. Do you not understand? I am racing in the Mario Kart tournament. Yeah, that's funny.
Can you just pause it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I cannot. Anything else you've been playing?
So I went from that to Mario Kart Tour released this week, and I was not even a little bit interested in playing it after how the beta kind of finished up for me, which was basically that Mario Kart is always fun, and then they ruined it with these just like exhausted free-to-play mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, gatekeeping things behind timers, and if you want better characters in carts, you better purchase the emeralds in the shop, you know, just that kind of nonsense. Yeah. So I was not going to play this at all, and then I thought, well, you know, I wonder if they took any of the feedback that I gave, you know, to heart. So I downloaded Mario Kart Tour and played it some, and you know, on the whole, it seems the same. They one thing that I do appreciate is that they in the beta you had a certain number of hearts, and it cost a heart to enter a race. So when you ran out of hearts, you had to wait till they came back, or you could pay. So it looks like they did away with that altogether. There's no hearts anymore. And also, for whatever reason, it's not emeralds anymore. It's rubies. I don't know what kind of feedback made them change the gemstone of choice, but it's different.
That's weird.
Yeah, other than that, it seems really, really the same.
I noticed going around news outlets was the fact that there's a subscription to this Mario Kart Tour that's $5 a month that gets you access to like 200cc and like enhanced currency drops or something like that. And people love to point out how this, you know, subscription that's $5 a month on Mario Kart Tour is the same price as Apple Arcade and the same standard price as the Google Play Pass and $2 more a month than the asking price of Nintendo Switch Online, where you could just play freaking Super Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's weird.
not even good Super Mario Kart. Like if you want to play Mario Kart on the go, take your 3DS or take your Switch, because this is like Mario Kart with, I don't know, like with training wheels or something, because of the limitations of playing with a touch screen, because that's how you do it. You drag your finger to the left to turn left, you drag your finger to the right to turn right, and that's about what you got. So if you want to get really precise with your driving, it's not going to happen here.
Yeah, do you think that they're trying to tap into this market? Like, oh, there might be people that have mobile devices that don't have Nintendo Switch, or Nintendo system at all, and they want to play Mario Kart.
I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange why they're doing this. Yeah. And although, when Christian brings up that $4.99 like Gold Pass subscription, in the beta, you started at the 50 cc's and you had to unlock the others. And then this one, when I very first started it, they say, hey, why don't you go straight to 150 cc's if you're, a Mario Kart veteran? I was like, oh, okay. I will, thanks.
So they made some changes, but
they did make some changes. They were not the things, aside from the hearts, they were not the changes that I suggested.
Wow.
So...
apparently they don't know who you are.
Apparently they don't. I'm a big deal. So, whatever.
Primary color of light over here.
I was just going to say the same thing.
That was so funny.
Nice. Anything else?
Okay, so the other thing that I'm playing this week is, and Roger, you were right to say, no, I don't have time for it when I tried to give it to you, but I am playing Greedfall. And I am having different time with it than Christian did, I think. Kind of struggling over here, So, yeah, I will start with the positives. This is, of course, an action RPG set in the 17th century, I believe. You know, so you've got ships and you've got swords and you've got, that kind of stuff. The world building is fascinating. This I love. This actually, I would like to read a series of fantasy novels set in this world.
Yeah.
Especially, like at the beginning, you're kind of doing the tutorial in the dock area. And there's a side quest where you have to hunt down a cabin boy, and it leads you to all this lore about the Knots, which are a sailing guild that uses magic. And so children that are born, what did they call them? Like sea smart, or I don't know, sea gifted, whatever. Those children have to be taken away from their families and given up to the Knots. And so most of them don't know where they came from. Most of them don't know their parents. And so the side quest that you have to do is there's a cabin boy who was given up to the Knots as a little tiny child, and his parents have stolen him back.
Oh.
So you have to come to a resolution there. But yeah, I just thought, I love this. This kind of storytelling stuff is great. I want to know more.
Yeah.
And then also the dialogue is really great, which is a good thing because the game is, I'm 5 hours into it, and so far it's 80% talking. So if this is an action RPG, I'm waiting for the action. But, if the dialogue was boring or poorly written, like this would be a disaster.
Yeah.
But it's not bad because it's explaining the lore and, the ins and outs of this world that I find fascinating. So that is very good. The things that are bad. So due to the fact that the game is 80% talking, you spend an awful lot of time looking at people's faces. And the graphics, let's say, this looks to me like an early PS3 game, which is really unfortunate because we're pretty much at the end of the life cycle of a PS4 console. And so it's just by the virtue of it being just so different from what's kind of expected now, it seems worse than it should. It brings more attention to itself than it probably should, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But especially the way that they've done the characters' teeth. So everybody's teeth are too white. And they have taken the time to draw every single tooth. And there's dark outlines around every single tooth. So whenever people are opening their mouths to talk, it's like you get almost the impression that the teeth are actually what's talking, and then it's just wearing this fleshy human suit around the teeth. Because the teeth is what you can't stop looking at.
Yeah.
Can we have this as a category in our end of year awards? Best teeth in a game.
Best teeth? I don't know. Yeah.
Especially since back then, right? Because, come on, during the Victorian age, I don't know how good their teeth would have been.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They don't have magic and monsters either back then. So
good point.
We could always just assume their teeth have been magically whitened and straightened, but
there we go.
It's far too much attention drawn to the teeth of all these people.
I know what you're saying.
Is it weird that it makes me want to play the game more now?
Yeah, I know, right? That's awesome.
How about I'll post some screenshots and you can see.
I'm totally with you, Blue, when it comes to the visuals for the faces, especially the character models, don't look the best, and the lip syncing is just so lazily done. It feels like it was done with like the algorithm that they do on side quests in RPGs, where they just hit the sync lips button and then the mouth just kind of undulates to the general word sounds.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look great, especially in a game where there's so much talking, but this is not a full $60 release from a budget, developer. And I was admittedly impressed by the visuals when it came to the landscapes. So they are not all failures in the visual department.
No, not all failures. And the visuals, as far as the landscapes, they're nice, but you don't spend that much time with them. At least, in the first five hours. So, especially because you do this weird leapfrogging thing across the map. So if you need to travel somewhere, you'll run towards the point on your map, and then in the middle of the road, there'll be this like a point marker, and it will say, press X to travel. And so then it will take you to the map, and you'll go and select the map point that you want to travel to, and it will say, do you want to travel here? Travel time is 12 hours and 24 minutes. And so then you say yes, and then it skips you there. So you don't spend much time wandering the map or looking at the landscape because you're leapfrogging around it.
I got you. There's some side quests that'll get you out there in the wilderness a little bit. And what I found like genius was that when you get to one of these gates, right, and then you say, okay, I want to go here, it'll dump you out to like this little location where you've got your party members and you've got a shop. And I wish more RPGs had this feature, because you can only carry so much stuff. You can be encumbered, so you can only carry so much weight of items and equipment and materials, and everything has a weight to it, just like a Bethesda game, which would get like stressful for me, because I would be like, all right, what's the cost benefit analysis for all of this weight stuff that I'm carrying? When do I have to make a quick trip to town in order to sell the things that I actually need to sell? And where can I stash the stuff that I need to stash in order to keep? And in here, every time you travel, you're bumped out to a zone where you can sell everything that you need to. And then it also gives you an excuse to talk to your party members who might have a quest for you while you're waiting for the next area to load.
No, yeah, that's true. It's not a game where you have to struggle to find a save point or struggle to find a shop or anything like that. Like Christian said, all you have to do is travel, and it will take you through one of those before you get to your destination. So as far as the gameplay, as far as the controls go, I'm struggling here with the dodge in particular.
I see.
Because the character reacts so much more slowly than what I'm used to. And what I'm used to is 130 hours of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And so I've spent 130 hours training myself to dodge at the absolutely last moment possible, because then you kind of get that slow time event. I forget what they call it. And that gives you a couple of, a window to get a bunch of free hits. And so trying to untrain myself to do it in this game it's killing me, because it's so slow and the dodge doesn't take you very far away. So you have to like dodge to like actually truly get out of harm's way. Like the boss in the first area, the port area, like it would pull that spike out of its back and throw it at you, but you had to dodge before it threw the spike or it wouldn't do any good. So, yeah, that whole timing thing, that's really throwing me. Other than that, a big part of the game is shortcuts that you assign to the D-pad. So you have your gun, you have your various potions, etc., etc. What is bothering me is that you move your character with your left joystick. So I cannot move and shoot at the same time. You have to move, stop, shoot. Move, stop, shoot. And sometimes some enemies, that's not a luxury you have. So then I end up not having my index finger and middle finger on the trigger buttons like you normally would. So I've got them like curled up so I can hit the D-pad while I'm moving it with my thumb. It's not convenient. I would have rather the shortcuts be assigned to the shoulder buttons.
You have adopted my claw control method, Blue, which I used.
No, it's a thing.
It's a patented.
I used it in
claw.
Greedfall because I wanted to shoot my weapon all the time, but also what I primarily used it for is in Dark Souls games. I adopted it when I first played Dark Souls 1 because my problem is that I want impulsive, constant control of the camera as well as my movement. And in Dark Souls, the sprint button is X. So you got to sit there and hold X. But if you want to move the camera, you can't do that while you're sprinting. So I put it's very hard to explain. I put my thumb and middle finger on the right analog stick, and then I use my pointer finger to hit the X button so that I can sprint have camera control whenever I want. And I played through Sekiro that way, played through Dark Souls 2, 3, most of Bloodborne that way. It makes my hand hurt, but it gets the job done.
I don't even know if I could physically do that. I bet your fingers are longer than mine.
They might be, yeah. I do have longer fingers.
Wow.
Yeah, I was curious, but I was a little confounded by the fact that the gun is like an item. I wish that would have been more of just like an attack, because it's like a slot in your inventory. The gun, it's a weapon, but you have to like assign it like it's an item.
Yeah, but it's far more effective than either of your primary or your secondary weapon.
Yes.
So it should just be it should be your primary weapon.
Yeah.
In real life, you would just get rid of your primary weapon and make that your primary weapon.
Yeah, I would have the gun as the primary weapon and like a sword for a backup if something went wrong. But yeah, that's what I would do. So I don't want to harp on this game too much, but there is one more thing that I must mention. The camera in this game is killing me. So... like Christian said, this is not a big studio. This is not a full AAA game, even though they are charging $50 for it.
$50?
Yeah. So I don't, it's not fair to compare it side by side to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is only $60. So if you think about that added value you get for that $10 price, holy cow. But this is the easiest way that I can think of to illustrate my point with the camera in Greedfall. So, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the world feels grounded. It feels stable. And you move the camera and you can look at things. It's smooth and your character moves smoothly through the world. In Greedfall, the camera is like jiggly and janky and constantly in motion. So it gives me the impression of the character, am not moving. The world is moving around me, if that makes sense. Because when you change direction, there's this lurch of the camera. And yes, I went into the options and I turned the sensitivity all the way down. And it's not made that much of a difference. Like when you step out of a room and the door closes behind you, the camera zooms right in like to the back of your head, because I guess you're up against the wall and that's where it feels like it's the only space. And then you start moving and it zooms back out. So if you don't pause when you exit a room, it's like in, out. And it's like this crazy jerking feeling. Every time you turn to look at something, it's like the whole world picks itself up and puts itself back down in relation to your new perspective. It's just, it's crazy. And when you run, even if you're running in a straight line, the camera bounces up and down. Like the left side will go up and the right side will go down, and then it will switch and then it will kind of bounce gently, like you're in the ocean. And I guess it was meant to kind of seem like, oh, this is what it would look like if you were running, but I'm not running. I'm watching the back of somebody's running. And so kind of what's happening to me is that the camera is in constant motion. It's this constant visual stress where I never feel grounded. I always feel disoriented. I never seem to really know where I am. And I can only play it for about an hour at a time before I start to get motion sick.
Holy cow.
Wow.
And I've never had a game do this to me before.
That's crazy. The only game I've had that's given me motion sickness was Amnesia.
Oh.
I haven't
I don't know if
played that.
anybody's ever played that one.
No.
Yeah, that one messed with me. But so yeah, I could see where you're coming from.
Yeah, so I was just like the first time it happened, I was like, wait, I don't feel well. What is even happening to me? It's like, I just want the game to just be still. Just be like still for 1 minute. But it's not.
Wow. Yeah,
I didn't have that problem with it. That's weird, Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to say, I'm glad that I didn't review this game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, see, the thing is that when I was a kid, I struggled with being car sick. Like,
Yeah.
my whole childhood. Because I always felt like I would have to concentrate because it always felt to me like I was still and the world was moving around me. And it would make me sick. And so then I got older and I kind of grew out of it. But this game is bringing back that same kind of sensation where I'm still and the world is moving around me.
Interesting. See, I get that way when, like, we're parked and there's a car, like, if two cars are moving next to you at the same time and you're parked, like, that throws me off. That will make me feel nauseous. So I get it. Well,
So that's okay. Only 45 more hours to go.
there you
I
go.
got this, Blue. There's some
Yeah.
great
Do this.
character building stuff in there, though. I remember I was in the opening area. I spec'd into charisma because I missed the video games where I could increase my charisma stat, and I was doing those quests in the opening area, and there was a situation where I could just smooth talk my way into what I wanted from the merchant, and he gave it to me, and I was like, yes. Thank you. It was like a euphoric experience. I could create my character to trailblaze my own smooth talking path the way I wanted to in a game that, you know, I haven't had that experience in a simpler game in a long time. Fallout 4 didn't even, you know, like scratch that itch for me to such an extent as the BioWare stuff did. And if you like BioWare stuff, I think Greedfall is kind of more in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're going to play Greedfall, forget about melee, forget about strength and endurance. Put everything you have into charisma and your firearm and your magic.
Yeah.
That's funny. Anything else?
That's it.
Thanks. What about you, Mike? What have you been playing?
So I have been continuing my quest in Tetris 99 to get all of the themes by doing the daily challenges. I've also been going in with Resident Evil Revelations 2.
Yeah.
Continuing that story, enjoying it. It's so fascinating. I have some theories about who the mystery villain is.
Oh, it's a mystery
so I'll
villain.
see if I was. Well, it was. Well, there's a voice that appears over your. So your characters have these bracelets, and the bracelets monitor their heart rate. And if the heart rate gets too fast, they get injected with the virus, and it either kills them or mutates them.
Sounds like a Saw movie.
All for the. Yeah.
It sounds like Speed, actually. I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. Which one?
The Keanu Reeves one, the one where he's on the bus and everybody's going to turn into zombies if the bus stops.
You must have saw a different speed than I did, man.
What the heck?
So now I lost my train of thought. What game was I playing? So
Mystery villain.
in the game, what's that?
Mystery villain.
Mystery. Yeah. So I have an idea who the mystery villain is, but I'm not sure yet. So I'll let you know when I find out. But one thing I liked about it that started happening in the game is when the mystery villain is talking to you over the bracelet in the game, you hear their voice coming out of the little mini speaker on the PS4 controller.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is something that, like, they don't really utilize as
Yeah.
much as they should. Like, the last time I saw something cool like that was when I played No More Heroes, and when you would get a call on your cell phone from the head of the assassin organization, her voice, you'd have to
Yeah.
put your Wii remote up to your ear.
Yeah. That was kind of cool. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I liked that. So other than that, I've been playing a game called Super Dodgeball Beats
Yeah.
on the PlayStation 4, which is a rhythm game set to a dodgeball tournament where each of your characters, you have 4 characters on your screen, and each of them is represented by one of the buttons on the PS4 controller. and there's a circle that slowly closes in on the character. And when it hits the character at the right spot, you have to hit that button for them to throw the ball. And it goes to a very catchy, very techno soundtrack. It's interesting. It's kind of tough because maybe it's me, but I'm not getting the rhythm as much, which I find odd because I love rhythm games. And the game is pretty hard because you get power-ups, but then so does the other team. So if the other team throws their power-up at you, like, for example, it'll have something like a giant picture that just goes across the screen like an old-school screensaver.
Whoa.
Where it just bounces to different spots.
That's cool.
But that blocks your vision.
Yeah.
So it throws you off. And the thing is a game like that has such a fast-paced style of gameplay. And since it's a rhythm game, if you get thrown off on 1 or 2 beats, like, sometimes it takes you a while to get yourself back into it. So I'm still going through that. It's an interesting game. It's interesting so far. I'm not going to give it a reply or a score just yet, but I got to put some more time into it.
So is the rhythm, though, is it like based off of music then? I mean, is
yeah.
Okay.
It's based off music. It's not licensed music. It's all original.
Okay.
But you need to listen to the music, and you know what I'll do? You know what I should try doing is I'll pop on some headphones and do it.
Oh, there you go.
That's probably how it's meant to be played. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll be here.
Yeah. So, other than that, the only other game that I played is we had our good conversation last week about our favorite licensed songs and games. So I started getting an itch and I had to scratch it. So I did a little retro hunting, and I picked up a game for the GameCube that had another one of my favorite songs, and that was "All I Want" by Offspring on the game Crazy Taxi.
Yes. Oh gosh, that was good music on that game.
Yes. So luckily I was able to find Crazy Taxi at my local retro shop for like $5.
Yeah.
So I picked that up and I played that a little bit. Enjoyed it for what it is, a quick half an hour, 40 minutes of driving your taxi and picking people up.
You played it on
and listening to Offspring and Bad Religion, I think, is the other one.
Oh, nice.
You got it on GameCube, Mike?
Yes, I do.
Are you aware as to whether or not the GameCube and Dreamcast soundtracks are different?
No, I'm not aware of any change in the soundtracks.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
because the Dreamcast soundtrack's really good too.
Yeah.
Man, now I want to go back and listen to Offspring and Bad Religion. Two other bands that defined me as in my teenage years, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. That's all I played.
Okay. What about you, Christian?
I finished Borderlands 3. So I didn't have much longer to go the last time we were together, but I finished it. My first playthrough, at least. I'd like to play it again because the post game is there and it is meaty, at least compared to Borderlands 2. You've got a bunch of these ranks that you can get by doing these challenges after you finish the game. And for every rank you get, you can increase one of your stats for like things like reload speed or max health. And for each one of those stats you increase, you gain like a little notch on the skill tree. And then there's some end game skills that you can build your character towards. And there's some very good skills at the bottom of those skill trees that I really want to get. So I'm sure I'm going to be playing it some more, building up my character. There was some glitchiness going on. I played on PC, but I think my understanding is that it's a little unstable on multiple platforms. There was the big second to last boss fight. It was good. It was fun. I was having a good time, pumping it full of bullets. Finally killed it after like 20 minutes. And then cutscene played. And then the cutscene ended, spawned back in. And then I realized that I spawned back in below the map because I looked up and the map was above me. And I was just falling infinitely into this like pink abyss.
No.
And so I just kind of looked up and watched the game world get smaller and smaller. And I waited 20 minutes for me to like supposedly hit some gap and die eventually. And I wasn't dying, so after like 30 minutes, I tried killing myself. I was starting throwing grenades. I was shooting rocket launchers. Nothing was happening.
Yep.
Oh,
So I had to quit out, jump back in, and it spawned me after the boss died, so that was good. But all the loot was gone, and so I missed out on a lot of good loot there. But, you know, I got over it.
I saw a video where somebody was streaming this game, and every time the person jumped, like they just kept going up and up and up and up. Like you watch them be a little tiny glitch, and then they were gone and they were in space. And then the guy would be like, "Oh, hey, I'm reaching the sky ceiling. Look what's up here." Like they eventually reached the point where they couldn't go up anymore. And then I guess there was some button that they pushed and they were able to just come back down. And then so they wait, and here they come all the way back down.
Oh my goodness.
That's wonderful. I love those silly ones. The silly ones are totally okay by me. Not when they're screwing with me and my loot. I'm not going to put up with that, Gearbox. But when they're funny, yes, there's they've got the the giant slamming you into the ground in Skyrim glitch, where when Skyrim first launched, whenever a giant hit you with its club, you'd slam into the ground, and then the collision wouldn't know what to do, and the physics would bug out, and you'd go like flying super high into the air. So sometimes if you shoot someone just right, they'll like clip onto the ground and go flying into the air, and it's just infinitely amusing every time it happens.
Yeah. The particular video that I watched, they were doing multiplayer, and so they were trying to fight some sort of boss, and then the guy who was doing the glitch was just screwing around, like jumping high, and the rest of his team was like yelling at him, like, "Quit the party and come back and help us! Stop it!" And he's like, "La la 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 la, fly."
That's so good. I love this guy. I think playing through Borderlands 3, now having gotten to the end of it, what I have really appreciated is the lack of extremely annoying things. Borderlands 2 is full of annoying enemies, annoying level design, just annoying little things that just nag at me. And they, like, granted, I've played through Borderlands 2 over 4 times now, so those last 2 times I was hyper aware of all these moments and sequences that I had to play through where I wasn't going to enjoy it. There's robots that, like, spin their arms so that you can't shoot them except for these very specific spots in Borderlands 2. There are enemies that suck you into wormholes that I'm pretty sure you can't get out of in Borderlands 2, and they're ridiculous. And there's these buzzard helicopter, like, flying things in Borderlands 2 that suck because they have huge health bars and they fly around and they shoot rockets into your face while you're just sitting there trying to shoot them, but they're like 50 yards away. And so if you don't have the right weapons, you're just screwed. And these things are just progressively killing you throughout the whole time. Those aerial vehicles, non-existent in Borderlands 3. Those wormhole enemies, non-existent in Borderlands 3. Those frustrating level designs where you got a check marker that's like you're right on top of, but then you realize it's 50 feet above you and you have to go halfway across the map in order to actually get up there. Not existent in Borderlands 3. Very pleased, largely frictionless experience for the most part, especially when compared to the last main entry.
Wow. So you're enjoying it then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's so huge though, because how many great games are there out there that when you are actually honest with yourself are full of annoying things, and they don't have to be that way. They don't have to be in the game. And if you think about just like the pure experience that it would be if those things were just simply removed, and then every once in a while you get something like what he's describing with Borderlands 3. And that's like the holy grail.
Yeah,
it is. That's why I'm excited to jump back into it. And Borderlands 3 is now my favorite main Borderlands entry. My favorite Borderlands game is probably Tales from the Borderlands still, but Borderlands 3, my favorite actual Borderlands game.
Nice. Well,
Are you looking forward to the Halloween event?
I didn't even know there was one, Mike.
Yeah.
You're more on top of this stuff than I am.
Oh, Mike's a journalist.
I read things.
Jeez, Mike, I'm going to have to look into this now.
see, when I hear you talk about the game and Phil, Phil Hoff, who is also part of the show, part of the Gamerheads podcast, he loves the game too. I want to get it. I want to get it so bad, but I feel like I have so many other things I need to play.
You do.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it will just take away from the things that I need to play. But I really want to play this game.
Well, Roger, Borderlands 3 isn't going anywhere. I'm sure in a year they're going to be selling the Game of the Year edition with all the stuff for $40
for
instead
half
of
the
$60.
price, yeah.
I know, but I won't get into the Halloween event.
No.
Who cares?
I'll tell you what, Roger. I'll wait as well, and then we could both be at the same skill level when you do get it.
Friendship.
I was gonna say that's what friends are all about. Waiting till your other friend can play Borderlands 3 with you before buying it. Well, you can buy it, Mike. Just don't play.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that won't be a problem.
Oh, friendship. Nice. Anything else, Christian?
I just finished, for review for New Game Network, The Surge 2.
So, I just want to interrupt you there. Why did they make a Surge 2? Why did they make a second one?
Because they
Didn't think the first one did so well.
It did pretty decently, especially for Deck 13. So,
okay.
I went back, I played a little bit of the Surge 1, because I had not played it up until this point. I was like, I got to do my research. I always kind of meant to play the Surge 1 because it's a Souls-like game, you know, Dark Souls-like, Soulsborne-like, where you're killing
with guns,
stuff,
right?
And it's tough. And Deck 13 is the developers, and they made, Lords of the Fallen, which was like almost as much of a Dark Souls ripoff as you can get. And that one was a flop. People didn't like it very much. It was on free for PlayStation Plus in like a year's time, and they just kind of, left it by the wayside. But then they actually had a meaningfully unique idea with the Surge. I always meant to kind of get at it. I never did. I never sat down, shelled out the cash, and set aside the time to play through it. But I played it a little bit, and I was pleasantly surprised by actually how unique it was and how satisfying the combat was, because they actually did their own thing, where it's this cyberpunky stuff. There's robots and stuff, and you're attaching, they've got this aesthetic down where you're attaching these weird metal contraptions to your arms and legs and your face, and you're just strapping junk to you, and that's your armor. And basically you get more armor by slicing people's appendages off, and it's freaking awesome. And it's so satisfying because the game establishes this loop, this endless looting loop, where you're not dependent so much on random drops. What you're more dependent on is finding an enemy and picking an appendage, because you'll pick, the interface works very well for telling you, okay, this person has armor on these parts. You target one that they have armor on, and then you're guaranteed a crafting material drop for that armor piece. And then if you get 5 arms, you can craft your own armor piece, and you've got a meaningful way to keep on getting loot. And it's skill based. So the only thing keeping you from doing it is defeating the enemies and slicing off that body part. So the Surge 2 is a pretty quick turnaround. And when I was looking at the Surge 1 reviews, it was funny. I think it came out 2017, 2 years ago now. And a lot of reviews were like, I guess this is a genre now. This is a Souls-like, Soulsborne genre. And we're seeing that with the Surge because it's Deck 13's second outing. And the Surge 1 came out a couple months after Neo. So those games were hitting in pretty quick succession in that time frame, at least the big ones. So I think the Surge 2 is a confident statement that, yes, these things are here to stay, and yes, we can still have fun with them, because the Surge 2 reinvigorates things with a new setting. So they've had 2 years off to make this. The engine isn't meaningfully different. The controls are a bit tighter. There's some quality of life improvements. You can switch loadouts so that you don't have to sit there and meticulously do all your armors over and over again and all of your modifications over and over again, where you can just swap between loadouts. And the setting, instead of being this factory closed off area, it's more of this open, sprawling cityscape, this dystopian city. And it's very, they got it. They got that tone, they got that feel, they got it all down. Where you're walking around, there's this giant octopus building that's your first destination, and you have to get underneath its tentacles because that's where the next quest objective is. And the story isn't great, but it gives you plenty of excuses to lop dudes' heads off and slap their helmets on yourself, and that's great. They got the gameplay combat loop down. The bosses are tough, punishing, but they reward careful timing and careful planning and building yourself up with the armor if you need to. And I had a really great time with the Surge 2, despite the fact that it's largely the Surge 1 again, and it's just like a Souls-like, because there's still interesting things in there, and the setting's really cool.
You know, I think the Surge 1 was a PlayStation Plus game.
Yes, and it is available on Game Pass.
Yeah, and available on Game Pass, that's right. So what did you play it on? Did you play it on PlayStation?
I played it on PS4, yes. PS4 Pro is what I played it on. The Surge ran very well on PS4 Pro in performance mode because it was at a locked 60, quite stable for the most part. The Surge 2, not so much. It's not very stable yet, which is kind of unfortunate. And it doesn't look great in performance mode either. It targets that 60 frames mark and it hits it for the most part, but screen tearing is a problem. That's when you get like these weird lines when you're moving the camera. Those pop up a lot. And also the assets are really muddy when you're in performance mode. But then when you switch to the other mode, then you're sacrificing a solid frame rate and the ability to dodge very nicely and to time your attacks more accurately just to get slightly better visuals. Is kind of, you know, a horse apiece on that front.
But that doesn't make sense to me, because you said that Surge 2 is pretty much Surge 1.
Yes.
But you would think that they would have improved on... I mean, maybe it's just because it's super early yet, but when does this game release, Christian?
It is out.
Oh, it's out now?
Yes, sir.
So why... It doesn't make any sense. You would expect those issues with the first game, but not the second game.
Yeah, I think with the second game, they've pushed things technically a little bit. The areas are a little more vast and open. And
was that necessary, do you think?
I think it's really cool having those really big, sprawling open areas because it taps into that Dark Souls goodness that a lot of Soulsborne games don't get right. And even Dark Souls 2 and 3 didn't get right, where you're like playing in these interconnected spaces where you'll go off into one section and you'll just follow this one path along, and then you find a switch and open a door and boom, you're back to the beginning of the area and you're like, ooh, and you connect two and two together in your brain. And then this like area that was just like this linear path level has now turned into a world just by it folding into itself like that. And that's something that I liked a lot about the level design. But the level design is also scatterbrained in the sense that they wanted to emphasize verticality because this is a city and there's lots of scaffolds and, you know, multiple story buildings. And so when you're running around, you're going to get lost a lot. I definitely got lost for sure. And so there's no real good map either. There's like a loading screen map, but it's trash. It doesn't tell you anything. So you're going to get lost because everything's on top of everything else. But there's those like moments of interconnectedness. They're just gooey, delicious bits of Dark Souls 1 goodness that I miss. And that still lives on in the Surge 2.
Yeah, but is that, I mean, was it worth it? All that? How can you enjoy that if you're having issues with like screen tear?
Roger, you act like you've never read a book where the first one in a series was really great, and so then they rush out all the sequels and they suck.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. It happens with books, it happens with movies, it happens with TV shows and games.
I know. It just seems weird to me. I don't know.
It's not a technical mess. I mean, the frame rate was largely solid. It would only really chug when there's a lot of boss stuff happening, a lot of particle effects. This game is definitely more heavy in the particle effects department, thanks to some story stuff that's happening. But, it's the PS4 Pro. It's already old. These consoles are aging. If I played it on my PC, it would run much better. I've kind of accepted it at this point that these consoles can only do so much with multi-platform games that also release on PC.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, fair enough.
You win this round.
Yeah, you win, Christian.
That's all I got for you, Roger.
Okay. So for myself, I have been playing some more Link's Awakening. And again, that game is really cute and I'm enjoying it. It's a good game. You know, one thing that people have been saying about this game was the frame rate issues. And there was a lot of people saying, I don't want to play this game because of the frame rate issues. And either I am super forgiving or I'm just not catching it. Maybe being old, my eyes can't catch it. No, I don't know. I don't see any issues.
It runs worse than the Surge 2 does on consoles, Roger.
That's what I don't know.
It does. It's because it's double buffer V-synced. And so what that means is that the game either runs at 60 frames per second or it runs at 30 frames per second. There's no in between. So it's either going to be like very noticeably slow or it's going to be fine.
Okay. I guess, I don't know. You know, it's weird because maybe I just don't pay attention to these things and I just don't care. I do know.
Maybe we're just so used to it.
Or maybe that's the issue, because I did notice it. I mentioned this before. I mentioned this on a review of Assassin's Creed 3 on the Switch, where enemies would pop out of nowhere. Like when you're riding on your horse, you're like, hey, what?
It's pop in open world games.
Pop in. Yeah. So I noticed that, and that was kind of annoying, but I haven't noticed any, and maybe you're right, Mike, maybe it's just I'm so used to it that I just don't pay attention to the issues with the frame rate issues. And I know a lot of people said, well, I'm not going to get this game until this is patched, but I don't see any issues. I'm not having any problems with it. And I've beaten the first boss, so I would have thought that I would have seen some issues before getting to the first boss, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
There is one middle game area where there's a lot of water and a lot of enemies in the water where the frame rate definitely takes a hit.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll notice it then, but it hasn't bothered me. But maybe you're right, Mike. Maybe I'm just so used to playing games like Atari games when I was a kid that
my slowdown was so prevalent.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just got used. You know, it's funny because there was one. What game was it? I think it was a game that was on this Nintendo Switch Online, the Super Nintendo games. It was the Super Brawl Brothers. I've never played that game before, but there are parts where that game slows down because of performance chug, and I thought to myself, are they keeping it real based on how it was when the game first came out? Because there's no reason for that now, right? There shouldn't be.
Yeah, for the most part, that slowdown is kept in order to remain as authentic as possible to the original experience, which is something I definitely notice when I'm playing through Mega Man 2, because there's a lot of slowdown in Mega Man 2. But like the only emulated versions, I think, that don't have that slowdown were like the GameCube and PS2 ones that Mike mentioned having. For the rest of them, like the Legacy collections and everything, maintain that slowdown in order to keep that experience as authentic to the original as possible.
So... yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying the game very much. And the other game that I will say that I'm enjoying a lot is Sayonara Wild Hearts. I know I talked about it last week. I'm continuing to play it, and in between there I shared some video, and Christian, I think you nailed it on the head. I said racing game, but you said, oh, it looks like a constant runner. It's a constant runner. That's really what it is.
Blue sounds so enthused.
that makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, so but it's interesting because there's parts where it's third person perspective, and you're constantly running, or you're racing right against enemies. And then one of the last levels I just played it's first person, so you're on a motorcycle and you have this. Your hands are on the steering wheel, and you're moving left and right, the constant runner. With that, it was interesting. I thought it was so fascinating. And then the level I just played was really fascinating. The enemies are so as you're playing, there's obstacles that are coming in front of you. And I mentioned last time that go left to right, and usually there's about 3 lanes that you can drive in, and then you pick up hearts, right? So you try to get the highest score in that level. And the last level I played in, the enemies were like these twins, and every time they snapped their fingers to the music, the game would pulse, and then I would see a different visual in front of me. So it would change what there might be like a row of hearts in front of me now. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then they snapped again, but then right where those royal hearts were is now an obstacle. So like they change your perception of the world, or the world around them changes based on their snapping. So they're changing the world. And that made it really, that was kind of challenging. That was a hard game. It was interesting because at first I was trying to pay attention to what was ahead of me and then try to remember what was there when they snapped their fingers. So when it snapped back, I knew what was there. And I found myself playing the game based on rhythm and moving my character based on their snap and moving it left and right based on that. And that actually got me through the level. It was really fascinating. It was so interesting.
That's what you want in a music game, Roger, is what you want to be able to move based on the music and not solely on the visuals. That's when you like tap into that musical sense in your brain. That's why I think Thumper is so fantastic too.
Yeah, so I'm really liking this game. And I went out to Google Music and I listened to the whole soundtrack of the
You double dipped.
Oh, I did. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Lisa, I think that's pronounced Lisa Olsen, I think is the artist's name. She's Swedish, I think. So good though. If you want to listen, if you like music like the Churches or kind of Grimes-ish, look at Sayonara Wild Hearts, look up that album, and you'd like this music then too. So there's other games I'm playing that I can't talk about right now, which is the reason why I can't play other games like Borderlands 3, because I have, these are review duties. So I and they're quite big and I have to play them. So I can't talk about that right now, but I will talk about that sometime in October when I can talk about them. But those also kept me very, very busy right now. All right. Before we go, let's go around and tell people how they can get a hold of us. And Blue, how can people get a hold of you?
You can almost always find me on Twitter. My handle is @WritersView, and it's spelled with a Y, so WRY. And then I also have a website, which is writersview.com.
Nice. And Mike, how can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on Twitter @TCThrowers. You can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/TCThrowers. And you can also find the Controller Throwers podcast on iTunes and Google Play.
Nice. And Christian, how can people get a hold of you?
I'm also on Twitter @ChristianCubza. You can read my reviews, like the upcoming one for The Surge 2. If you want to hear me say in 1,500 words, game's pretty good, on NewGameNetwork.com, or else you can also listen to my reviews at GamerheadsPodcast.com.
Thanks. And listeners, you can always get a hold of us on Twitter. It's probably the easiest way, and that's at GamerheadsPC. But you can also go to our website as well, GamerheadsPodcast.com, or go to Facebook.com/GamerheadsPodcast. Or you can also send us an email, info@GamerheadsPodcast as well. And listeners, like I said before, at the top of the show, we do have a Patreon page, I guess. Yeah. And the link of that will be in the show notes. And as I mentioned before, if you want to become a member of the Gamerheads Nation and have your name read on the air like Miguel or Torto and Tim, you can go ahead there and sign up on the page. And for only $5 a month, you too can be part of the Gamerheads Nation and have your name read on the podcast. So thanks everybody for listening. And Blue, thank you for joining us this week.
You're welcome.
And Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And Christian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And listeners, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again and all your support. With that, we will talk to you next week. See ya.
Adios.
Bye.
Good night.